5 players shockingly snubbed from the 2026 NBA All-Star reserves across Western and Eastern conferences. Every NBA All-Star announcement delivers celebration and controversy. The starters get the spotlight, the reserves get debated, and every year a handful of elite players are left staring at their phones wondering how their names didn't get called. The 2026 NBA All-Star reserves were no different. As soon as the final rosters dropped, fans across social media exploded with disbelief, anger, and endless stat screenshots. Today, we're breaking down 5 players across both conferences who were shockingly snubbed from the 2026 NBA All-Star reserves, and why each case has fans heated. Before diving in, it's important to remember how brutal the All-Star selection process really is. Coaches vote for reserves, roster spots are limited, and competition, especially in today's talent-loaded NBA, is absolutely ruthless. Still, some omissions feel impossible to justify, even when accounting for team success, injuries, and positional balance. Let's get into the 5 snubs that sparked the loudest reactions. The first shocking snub comes from the Western Conference, where competition is borderline unfair. This player has been putting up elite numbers night after night, carrying offensive loads, and impacting winning, yet somehow didn't make the cut. Fans argue that his efficiency, advanced metrics, and on-off impact all scream All-Star. The issue: the West is stacked with superstars, and sometimes consistency doesn't shine as brightly as highlight reel dominance. Still, leaving off a player who's clearly among the top performers at his position feels like a miss. The second snub comes from the Eastern Conference, where the debate centers around respect and recognition. This player has quietly become one of the most reliable two-way contributors in the league. He might not dominate headlines, but his team collapses without him on the floor. Coaches often claim to value winning and defense, yet this omission suggests otherwise. Fans point to his plus-minus, defensive versatility, and clutch performances as proof that the All-Star label was deserved. Snub number 3 may be the most controversial of them all. This player is no stranger to All-Star discussions, which makes his absence even louder. Despite averaging near All-Star level numbers and serving as the emotional leader of his team, he was left out in favor of flashier names. Critics argue this is a case of voter fatigue, where familiarity actually hurts a player's chances. When excellence becomes expected, it somehow becomes invisible. The fourth snub highlights a growing issue in modern NBA voting: team record versus individual brilliance. This player has been phenomenal statistically, often keeping his team competitive in games they have no business being in. However, a mediocre win-loss record appears to have worked against him. Fans argue that All-Star selections should reflect individual dominance, not punish players for front office failures or roster imbalance. This omission reignites the long-standing debate about how much team success should matter. The fifth and final snub is one that left even analysts stunned. This player has been a matchup nightmare all season, forcing double teams, anchoring lineups, and consistently delivering in big moments. Yet when reserve names were announced, his was nowhere to be found. Some believe positional congestion played a role, while others think market size and media exposure quietly influenced the outcome. Either way, this was a snub that instantly became a trending topic. What makes these snubs especially painful is the timing. Being left off the All-Star roster doesn't just hurt pride, it affects legacy, contract incentives, endorsements, and historical perception. All-Star appearances still matter, even in an era dominated by analytics and championships. For many players, one misselection can change how their entire season is remembered. It's also worth noting that All-Star snubs often become fuel. History is full of players who turned exclusion into motivation, delivering monster second halves and playoff runs that made voters regret their decisions. Several of the players on this list now have something to prove, and the league should probably be nervous. Another layer to this conversation is how talent saturation is reshaping All-Star debates. The NBA is deeper than ever. Night after night, players who wouldn't have sniffed All-Star consideration 15 years ago are now producing at elite levels. That means more deserving players get left out, and the controversy only grows louder each season. At the end of the day, the 2026 NBA All-Star reserves once again reminded us that the process is imperfect. No matter how many stats you cite or narratives you build, someone deserving will always be left watching from home. These 5 players just happen to represent the loudest and most debated omissions this year. So the question now turns to you: which of these snubs was the worst? And is there a player not on this list who you think was robbed even more? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because All-Star debates never really end, they just reload for next season.